There was a masseuse once that a friend of mine went to, and where you hold pain, where you hold tension in your body is related to something. And I feel like he was like, oh yeah, this arm, like, do you have issues with your mother? And she did. And she did. It was the craziest thing. So
I want to find this masseuse. Forgiveness does not mean welcoming someone back into your life. So just because you forgive them doesn't mean you have to let them back in and act like nothing ever happened.
Welcome to the Limitless Tribe, where two badass women build businesses, chase dreams, and keep it way too real. I'm Kat.
And I'm Mel. We're the founders of Powerhouse Admins and the Limitless Tribe. And we're inviting you into the messy middle, the mindset shifts, and the CEO glow-ups we never see coming.
Now let's get into it. I wasn't staring. I was like this. I was not looking.
I need a second. Hey everyone. So today's episode is about forgiveness. But not the cute, inspirational poster kind. It's the kind that has nothing to do with them, but everything to do with you. So forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean excusing anything that was done to you, and it doesn't mean reconnecting with whoever, hurt you or caused the pain. And it doesn't definitely mean that they deserve access to your life again. So you don't need to forgive and then all of a sudden let them back in. But forgiveness is about cutting that energetic cord so that you can stop carrying around someone else's damage and the weight of what they did to you. Because resentment lives in your body. And I feel that, you get stuck in that same loop, and that pain just winds up draining you. You keep rethinking and reliving, the situation that happened, and you end up making yourself sick about it. And it really, causes a lot of pain and suffering within you. So today we're going to talk about how to let go and release and move forward, and also set boundaries so that you have more self-respect and peace in your life.
It's interesting that you said that you relive it and you go through the scenarios all over again and stuff, because they say that I don't know if it's your nervous system or your subconscious, it doesn't know that what you are imagining is not real.
Yeah.
It thinks you're literally living it again.
Yeah. And have you ever sat in the shower and thought about what happened, and you're going through the moments over and over and over
but
again?
You think you're just recapping it. Your body thinks it's happening again. So the feelings that come up with that come up again. So when you were saying that, I think imagine it already hurts so much when whatever thing happens to you. And then imagine if that same thing happened to you 25 times.
Yeah, so your body's going through that trauma
over and over
and over.
Yes. So there's just a lot of weight that comes with holding a grudge, right? And I've come a long way in this category, because when I was younger, I am a grudge holder. I hold a grudge, I burn the bridge, and I don't need to see that person again. I'm good. I am just that extreme. So I feel like if mistakes happen, but if the person genuinely hurts you, I was to that extreme. But
so even if the person apologized, and
it depends. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake, or you didn't mean to hurt someone. But
then you would be okay with forgiving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that.
No.
You're nope. No. You hurt me. That's it.
It's things that are bigger, right? Things that stand out in your life, for the ones we're carrying around that really hurt, where the person intentionally hurt you, or they hurt you and they didn't apologize and they continue to do that. Then but in the past I was cutting the connection with that person. And to me, I don't care who it is, if it's family, if it's friends, whatever it is, I just don't want that energy, right? And I thought that I was doing good by protecting myself by doing that, because I don't usually keep them around. But it doesn't just, that doesn't actually clear it, right? So these grudges and things like that, I may not have the person in front of me, or I may not have a relationship, but they still lived within me. And they just kept repeating, and I thought about them, and it was affecting my nervous system. It affects your mental health. It gives you tension, anxiety, exhaustion from reliving this over and over again. And then the resentment it's almost like if it solidifies, the longer you carry it, the more it builds roots almost. And it just stays longer. It affects your sleep, your gut. Like, it's just so many things we don't even realize. We think it's everything else except these things.
Yeah, you're thinking, okay, I let this person's out of my life. I'm good. You know, but it's all that trauma that's still living within you.
Yes, and I think that we hold on because we think, and I'm very like about what's fair. So it really bothers me when people do something really unfair or really wrong, and it's hard for me to let it go. So not forgiving is almost a way of like holding them accountable in our brain.
Yes.
Like we think we are holding them accountable. We think that this is maybe staying with them as much as it's staying with us.
They're probably just walking around life and living their life and happy as hell.
Yes. But we think we're like doing something. Yeah. Like we're like, you know.
I'm teaching them a lesson.
Yeah. Or you're like, the other thing also that I think it's hard to forgive also is because it feels like you're giving them a pass. Mm-hmm. Or you're saying that it was okay what they did. And then that makes it really hard to forgive. But it's really not about that at all. So with the forgiveness, a big one for me was letting go of pain that came from not having my dad around, right? And I realized one day that pain that I felt, like, why am I feeling pain like if I did something?
Yeah.
Because so people will screw you over and you carry the pain of what they did. And that doesn't feel fair or right because I didn't do anything, right? Mm-hmm. So I realized I didn't want to carry around that pain, and I didn't want to have any of those negative feelings tied to something that I didn't do. This was something that I was there for, that happened. You know, it might not have had anything to do with me or whatever the case is, but I'm carrying around this pain. Like I would see like little kids with their dads, and I'm like, you know, or different scenarios. Yeah. Like, why does it have to pain me? You know, I don't think it's fair for the victim to like be pained.
Yeah.
So that was a big motivator for me. You know, I felt like I wanted to let go of the resentment that I had, or the anger, or whatever it is for different people that have hurt me. Not for them. I think that stays with that person. Like everybody's actions and what they say and do, that's part of like your own karma or your own things to heal from or not heal from. But it is not my responsibility to carry everybody's, you know, things that they need to heal from.
Yeah.
So that was where I felt like I was able to kind of start letting go. And like you said, it doesn't mean that the person is back in your life. Sometimes they can, right? In different capacities.
Yeah.
But if it was something really horrible that happened to you, that person never needs to be in your life.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you need to carry that pain forever, because you didn't deserve that pain. You know, they should have the pain of whatever that person did, not you. So that's where that forgiveness really comes about. It's more of like a way of self-protecting and of controlling your energy and just your space, right? I'm kind of a big believer that all of these grudges and these resentments really set in your body, and you know how everybody has like a cancer gene, right? Doesn't mean you get it, but it's just there, like kind of dormant. I used to think it was like a genetic thing, but it is in one way, but it's just something that's there that's kind of dormant. I feel like all of this tension and this anger and stuff that we sometimes carry like triggers it and like kind of wakes it up.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Well, yeah, I think it affects your body in different ways, right? Like all those things can have, make you swollen. Like, what is that called? Your body, like inflammation.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it causes inflammation,
which
tension,
causes everything else.
Migraines, all sorts of things, because you know it does affect you.
Yeah. And another thing that I thought when I was letting go of a lot of stuff, and I think it comes in chunks, right? It's not like you say I'm going to forgive someone, and it's not always like a one and done thing, right? Sometimes you need to chip at it multiple times. But the other thing that I thought was one of the people that I felt that way about had like a health scare, right? And I thought, you know, if they weren't here, they would be leaving with me having that grudge and that like resentment.
Yeah.
And it felt like bad vibes for me.
Yeah.
You know, like
I get that. I do get that.
Yeah, I felt Like I didn't, even if the person deserves it or needs to heal from those things, that's on them. Like I don't want it to come from my energy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think of like all of us, you know, like so many things that we are trying to forgive ourselves for. If the person was really trying to forgive themselves for whatever they did and move forward, I don't want to be the reason why they can't, you know, like they're like, I don't
your
let
energy's
them.
holding them back.
Yeah. So those were like two big things for me, but it's definitely something you chip at. You know, I am not done. I'm still, you know,
practicing.
Yeah, minimizing it, you know, each time. And
yeah, I'm still forgiving the same people over and over again in my life. And yourself. Including me. And little by little, I feel like it gets, you know, better each time, but it's a practice.
It is. So I would think right now, like, think about people that have hurt you in the past. And think about how often do you think about these things? Where does that live in your body? You know, actually, another thing now that I just said that, there was a masseuse once that a friend of mine went to, and where you hold pain, where you hold tension in your body is related to something. And I feel like he was like, oh yeah, this arm, like, do you have issues with your mother? And she did. And she did. It was the craziest thing. So
I want to find this masseuse.
It was like 20 years ago.
Crazy.
But it was like, you know, in your hips. So like, where are you feeling like the tension from the things that have been done to you? And really feel where that is. And instead of feeling that tension, try to send those areas a little bit of love and a little bit of release and a little bit of just love.
Light.
Yeah. Love and light.
Love and light. That's interesting. So what forgiveness actually means, right? And doesn't mean. So forgiveness, we are going to redefine the word. Forgiveness does not mean welcoming someone back into your life. So just because you forgive them doesn't mean you have to let them back in and you know, act like nothing ever happened. It doesn't mean minimizing the pain that was caused to you because you're hurt. Something did happen to you, right? So you don't have to act like it didn't. And it doesn't mean trusting this person again because depends on what they did. How if they broke your trust, there was betrayal, they cheated on you, there was domestic violence, anything like that. Like that's not something that you just need to forgive and forget.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt because it did hurt, and we're all human and we have feelings. But it does mean like an emotional release. You want to let go. You want to detach yourself from what it was. You want closure. It's a big thing. And you want freedom. So you can forgive someone. You can never speak to them again. You can move on with your life. You can block them. And that's all a form of self-love and giving yourself back that peace that you need in your life to move on and to not make yourself sick, to not carry around that weight, to not have that trauma. So there's so many things that come along, like you said, with forgiveness of, you know, if you don't do this and you carry around that weight and you're in it and you're reliving it. Because I know there were so many scenarios in my mind that I have relived over and over. I've sat in the shower and I thought about my comebacks and what I should have done and what I should have said and how I should have handled the situation. And it's like I'm in it again and again and again. And to think now that all those times that I did that, I was causing my body trauma all over again.
Yeah.
And it thought, oh no, she's in this situation right now.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, this is happening at this moment. That's horrible because I was just affecting myself in ways that I didn't need to. Whereas if I would have sat with it and really like paid attention and gone through the emotions and released it, I feel like my body probably would have been so much happier and better, you know.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like yes, you should, from the pain, you need to heal. So you're going to have to go through your process of healing. But it's different than this resentment and anger because it's almost like in order to do that to them, right, to hold that against them and all that, you need to also carry it. So like it's like a mirror. You have to both feel that negativity in order to keep holding that. And it's just really not worth it.
It's not.
And like you said, like some scenarios like are so bad where like the person needs to go to jail and it's that level, right? It still doesn't mean that you can't forgive, and it's not to change anything of what needs to happen because if they broke some law or attacked you or things like that, like that still needs to go through that process, but it's you disconnecting from it.
Yeah.
You still do your healing, but it's you disconnecting from this attachment to this person
Yeah. I feel like I forgave my daughter's father. There was, a lot of domestic violence, abuse. There was a lot of things that happened in that situation. And I still had to deal with him for a few years. He passed away, but I had to deal with him for a few years after. And he did change his life. He tried to turn things around after a while, but for so long I held on, like I would relive every situation, and it would act like I would feel like we were going through the whole thing over and over again. But at a certain point, I think I had to tell myself, like, we're not together anymore. He's living his life, I'm living mine. I need to disconnect from this because it's eating away at me. And it was not easy, but that I still did. Just because I did that, I didn't give him access to me again. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I forgive you, and we have to, be cordial because we have a child, so I still need to see you, and you have to, come by every now and then. But even though he would try to be like, oh, what are you doing? And no, we have boundaries. Like, my life is my life, your life is your life. We're going to interact for the sake of this child, and that is it. So I think it's just important, making sure that those boundaries are in place, even though I can forgive, but I'm not forgetting. We need to separate those things, but still have those boundaries in place to make sure that, he doesn't think, oh, everything is fine and dandy at the same time.
You know what I realized just this past weekend about that, because I have a hard time forgiving my daughter's dad too, right? Not for the relationship, because I learned so much, and it was a blessing at that time to have learned that. But I'm just so upset that he has caused my daughter anger. Yeah. And I don't know why it's been hard for me to let that one go. And this weekend, I've realized that I also need to, not that I realized it, I already knew, but I also need to forgive myself, right, for picking this bad father and different things. So I realized this weekend, I wonder if I can't let it go because it's tied together. Maybe. I need to, in order to forgive him, I also
yourself.
Yeah.
And
I haven't
and I think that's, I know we're going to go into the cord cutting and stuff like that. And that was one of the releases that I had when we started this whole journey of forgiving and stuff like that, was forgiving myself for choosing this person into my daughter's life.
Yeah. It minimized for me, but it didn't go all the way out. And the other thing, for example, with my daughter, she would like to be able to talk to him and have that closure, and she feels like she can't move forward without that closure. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned, you don't need the closure from the other person, and I think
you need it on your end, but not that from them.
Which I think is puts you in a position of power, right? Especially after being hurt, even more when you need it, because you don't need this person. You don't need to discuss anything with them. And even if you had the opportunity, the chances are you're not really going to get what you're looking for from them.
No, you're going to make yourself more upset. I feel like you're going to end up more pissed off.
Yes.
So not worth it.
You don't need to discuss with them. You don't need that closure. You just need yourself to decide that you want better energy for yourself, that is not the energy that you need to carry. That's on them. And just decide to disconnect that, right? Yeah. So when disconnecting that, even when the person leaves, I haven't seen my daughter's dad in, I don't remember, maybe 15 years?
It's been a long time.
A long time. So, but even then, that cord still stays, right? If you're not really doing the work to cut it, right? And then you replay the words, like you mentioned, you kind of you're keeping it alive, you're feeding it. Mm-hmm. And even if the person is far away, even if you don't speak, there's still that connection, right? So there's a practice that people say, and it's often done in a meditation, how we've done it. It's more helpful, especially if you're new. I wouldn't know how to do that by myself, but they do visualizations where you do cord cutting, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a visual representation of a cord connecting the two people, and it's almost like deleting your cookies and resetting your browser and
I like that
cleaning
analogy.
that up. So it actually said that from the one we just did, that it does not disconnect you from the person. It just disconnects this negative energy that you're still holding on, right? Because in some scenarios, for example, forgiving yourself, you're not disconnecting from yourself, or family members that you're close with and you love, but there's just things that you need to heal from and just let go of. It doesn't mean that you're going to disconnect any good feelings and positive things from that person. She was saying that it just disconnects that negativity and that stuff that is holding you guys together through that anger or resentment. And she did a really good visualization where you cut the cord and it falls and disintegrates. But what I love that she said is that it disintegrates into positive and good energy that's going back into the world. So like it's giving like some good back into the world. And then you disconnect the actual cord and it does the same thing. And you pretty much just thank them for the lessons, because at the very least you got a lesson out of this, right? A new boundary that you're setting, a different way to decide who's in your life. So you kind of let that person go or let that negativity go, and you're able to disconnect that connection to people that you don't want to stay connected to.
Yeah, and she did also mention, which I thought was interesting, and I always think, when you're doing well in life and then people all of a sudden like that hurt you come back.
Oh, yeah.
Like she mentioned that they might feel when you do that energetic like removal, right, and you disconnect them from your body or whatever, from the pull, that the cord, that they might feel it and they might reach out again. And I was like, that's always like those times when you start like doing better in life, you end a relationship, and then you start doing really better in life and you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden that person calls you. And you're like, how did they know that I'm doing good now? And I was thinking about that when she was saying that.
That's interesting, because they do. Right? So I wonder,
maybe they're feeling it. They're feeling that energy.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's like, for example, for us, it's bad energy, right? Because it's the anger, the resentment, whatever it is. But maybe for them, it's almost like a source of energy.
Yeah.
Like they enjoy that energy, or they get something out of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
That's what I thought too. But I really do love that cord cutting, and I think it's a great thing. I found it very useful in the last, I don't know how long, 2 years that we've been doing it. I think it's really, really been a healing process for me. So, and still working its way. So, again, forgiveness, right, doesn't mean forgetting or reconnecting. So we're going to talk about, when you get deeply hurt, it could be trauma, betrayal, domestic violence, anything where, someone physically hurt you so deeply that, it really sits in your body, and, maybe you had to call the police, maybe it's just something that they cheated on you, and that is something that it's very deep, right? You don't want to reconnect with this person. You don't want to communicate with them. You don't want to reconcile with them, but you do want to set boundaries, and those boundaries can be permanent. You don't need to let them back in your life. And if you have to, communicate with them for any reason, if you have children together and it's, someone like that, you still can have boundaries. You don't have to give them access to every part of you. So that's a big thing, just making sure that you put those boundaries up. You can forgive and still say, you will never have access to me again. So the forgiveness is, like we said, more for you than for that person at that point. But it's just a way for you to release it so that it's not sitting in your system forever and you're not eating away at yourself. So one of the affirmations that you can say is, I forgive you to restore the peace in my life and in myself, not with us. And I think that's a good way of just separating that. I know, not to keep going, I feel like cheating is a big thing for people. And, when someone cheats on you, it's such a pain. It's something that you feel like, man, what did I do? Or why did they cheat on me? I remember daughter's father again, he's quite the winner. He invited me out to dinner with a friend of his and a woman, and he told me that this friend and him, the woman and this friend, were dating. I was pregnant at the time. We all went to dinner, and it turns out that he was sleeping with this woman.
He wanted both of the women that he's sleeping with
at the same
table. There might have been more at the same table.
And I feel like I was so.
That's crazy.
When I found out, first of all, I was already in a bad situation, and he wasn't great, and the whole thing was horrible. But at the same point, I was like, how much more? How much more? How much worse can this get, right? Abuse and this, and now you're taking me to dinner with a woman that you were sleeping with. It was just such deep pain. I feel like it was so hard to get over so many things that happened in that situation, and it took years, to forgive myself, it was separate trauma about my daughter, the father that I picked for her and stuff like that. That was a whole separate area of forgiveness that I'm still going through. But just to forgive, like, what he put me through physically and emotionally and mentally, it took a lot of time. And I think up until last year, I finally like let it go because there were so many parts of me that hadn't healed because it was hard.
I wonder, like, so sorry, you guys probably know if you've been watching a lot of episodes. I can't remember where the stuff comes from, but do you remember the Oponono?
Yes.
It's something like...
It's a Hawaiian.
Yeah, and it's something like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you.
Yes.
So that isn't, and it's part of the forgiveness process too, but it's not, you're not saying to those things to that person. You're saying it to yourself and like the version of you that was there for that, right? Because sometimes in those situations, and some you have zero control, right? But sometimes I think about like the person that you were at that time, sending that girl love because she didn't have like that love for herself to set the boundaries, to know that she deserves better, you know? So that forgiveness is about that. It's not about the guy, right? And same with like, I've had some work things that people have done, and I really try to understand, what did I do? Like, is it, even if it's not my fault, but did I choose the wrong people to have around me? Did I not set the right boundaries that made people think that it was okay to do this to me? Because I want to learn from the situation, and that's kind of how I think.
Yeah, like how did I contribute to this?
Yeah.
In what way?
Yeah, and not in a victim blaming thing. More in like how do I get the power to not let this happen to me again? Because in any part, even if you like with the husbands, like I picked a terrible guy. I should have known because he was pretty clear, but I didn't listen.
We don't pay attention to those red flags. We see them, but we keep going.
So I learned to listen to the red flags after that one, and it changed my life. So really, like, taking what you can learn from them and giving that version of you love that didn't know any better at that time. Yeah, I think that's what like the forgiveness is really about. So, don't ignore it, feel it, like go into it, dissect why it hurt, why it happened, what can you learn from it, take your power back in general, right? Name what actually hurt, separate the event from your identity. Sometimes it becomes like an ingrained trauma that then affects other things. Yeah. This is something that happened to you that should not have happened to you, but it doesn't identify who you are as a person, and it does not need to stay with you forever, right? And then release the fantasy that they're going to fix it. That there's huge power in not needing that person to fix a situation. If you're expecting to have a conversation with them, for them to forgive you, or anything like that, then you're going to be waiting for a long time, and you're probably not going to get what you're looking for. So cut the energetic cord, release the situation, and really disconnect from that person. You're done. You're done suffering from this, right? So just disconnect from them, set boundaries to protect your peace, repeat the forgiveness practice. So like you were saying, it kind of comes in chunks, right? So the pain is 100%, you do the work to release, you might get to 70. You'll feel the 30% difference.
Yeah, you will.
And you do a little bit more work and you keep going. Sometimes it's all in one session, right? But sometimes things that have been with you for longer might take a little bit longer to do. Yeah. And we follow somebody called Catherine Zankina. We do her trainings, and she mentions how she did a lot of work to forgive her dad, who was abusive and just not a good father at all. And she experienced that growing up, and it was a very bad situation. And she did all this work to forgive him. She felt like she did. Not that he necessarily has access to her life, but she feels like she's let it go. And then she learned something new. Yeah. And now there's more to chip
all
at.
Over again.
Yeah. So now she had to do the work to kind of chip at that. So it's an ongoing process. It's not a moment. It's a muscle that you're building, and it's going to get easier and better. And then for the new things that happen, you'll be able to release it faster, so it's not like as rooted in you, and it's just going to be easier to release that. So think about what you need to release so it stops controlling you. Where do you want to get your power back?
Yeah, that's true. And I like what you were saying that, it might take some time to get some of them, to get through some of them and to actually release it, because the deeper the trauma, the more time you'll have to spend to do this, right? I feel like the more surface level, then those are a little bit easier to kind of walk through. So you don't have to choose between letting go and protecting yourself. You can forgive and block. So just remember that, right? Forgiveness with boundaries. You can forgive and still block the person. You can forgive and never see them again. You can forgive and remember what happened and choose distance forever. So those boundaries are not a punishment. They're protection for yourself and your inner peace. The forgiveness is supposed to free you, and the boundaries are supposed to keep you safe.
Yes, so when you think about forgiveness, your initial reaction might be, this person doesn't deserve it. But the person who does is you. The forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about you getting your power back. It's about you getting your energy back, about you not carrying anything that you don't deserve to carry and that you don't need to carry, right? You don't owe anybody access, reconciliation, a second chance, but you do owe it to yourself to let go of something that's already hurt you enough. That comes with peace, safety, emotional freedom. It's going to feel a lot lighter as you start letting go of those things. So forgive and cut the cord, hold the boundaries to protect yourself, and let go so you can step into the life that you deserve. You don't want to keep adding to all these things, these negative things, to the life you're trying to build. It's not a good match. So let go of those things and become unburdened, unchained, and just at peace with all of these things that have happened.
And I also think, we keep trying to teach our children a little bit more, right, of these things that we've learned so that they can go into life a step ahead of us, right? And I think that's another good thing to work with your kids on as well. The older they get, forgiving and still setting boundaries, forgiving and letting go of things so that it's not eating away at them either. I've spoken to my daughter about this since we've been doing it as well. She had some things go on in her life and she's worked through them. And we've talked about forgiving people that have hurt her and how she doesn't want to carry around that weight. She could still see them and not speak to them, because there's kids at school that, that she's going to see on campus, and she's had issues with them that are deep. You can see them, you can forgive them in yourself, and she doesn't need to go and be friends with them or say hi to them or to give them any knowledge at all of what happened,
And that's so big, to be able to release that stuff early.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to build up in you, and then it's a muscle that you're building. So as things happen, you can just let them go, and I think it makes everything so much easier. With things when it's somebody that screws you over, financially or at work or things like that. You know what I always tell myself?
What?
I always tell myself that those people that screw people over like that, intentionally, never get really far ahead. They think they're getting ahead, but that's not how you excel at life. It's actually through connections and through helping people, and the more people you help, the more you can grow and the more you can have in life. So I feel those people, I tell myself those people are never doing better than me.
Yeah.
They might have got me today, but I win at life, and they are not.
I completely agree with that. And I would like to
use that one if you need it, because it's true usually.
It usually is.
So if you like this episode or know someone who could benefit from it, please like, share, subscribe. Our next episode will be on manifesting, creating a vision board, and stepping into your dream life. Until next time, your life, your rules, stay limitless.